everyone. We are glad that you're here joining us at the July board meeting for the Francis Howell School District. I'd like to call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you all please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board, before we approve the agenda, we direct everybody's attention to our strategic plan for what we want to be as a district in the next 5 years. Director Owens, if you could begin with the first part of our vision of who we want to be by the year 2030.
Recognized as one of the top 5% high-performing districts in the state.
The employer of choice for talented educators, leaders, and staff.
Fiscally sound with a track record of smart, long-term planning.
Known for graduating well-rounded students who are equipped with the skills and experiences they need to be successful in the world.
Celebrated for the work we've done on culture, morale, and ensuring all members of our community feel safe and welcome, and trusted by families and the community to make good decisions and do what's best for students.
Thank you, Board. We understand that there is effort that is required to reach those goals, and this agenda has been created to help us get closer to fulfilling those promises. So, Board, I have a motion to approve the agenda for July 16th, 2026 as presented.
So moved.
Director Adams and Vice President Greider. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. The Board of Education welcomes comments from its community. A period of public comments is set aside at the beginning of each regular board meeting, issuing of policy 0412. During patron comments, residents of the district and staff members are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in the order of sign up, and each speaker has 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember that only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time, and combining time or giving your time to someone else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you have taken your time to come this evening, and we value both your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect the speakers will remain civil and respectful when giving remarks. We also ask that patrons in the audience remain quiet in order to be respectful of those speakers' allotted time. At that point, we welcome Carl Surrey to step forward.
Good evening. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at the email I sent a couple days ago. Want to make a few comments tonight on it. I think it's worth celebrating that when you look at the financial statements that were just posted in board docs for the fiscal year just ended June 30th, the total operating revenue, which are funds 10 to 20, ended up at $245 million. That was up $7.1 million over the prior year, which is a 3% even increase. So it basically keeps even with inflation, so not bad. It's also worth noting that it's an all-time record, highest revenue we've ever had in Francis Howell. What's more interesting is that $7.1 million increase, it's all driven by state revenue. 6.9 of the 7.1 was state revenue. The state piece of it was up 10.75%, almost 11%. What surprised me when I saw that was it went up, because I thought it went down. Because last month, Dr. Amy St. John showed a slide during the Prop O that said we had a state revenue loss of $3.2 million. Well, in my simple thinking, when I think of a revenue loss, I think of something going down year over year, all right? Mr. Delaney pointed out to me in an email to clarify what she was talking about was a calculation of state adequacy target, I can't even say it, what we were maybe promised or what somebody was told or was publicized versus what we got, or maybe what we had in the budget, okay? If you look at my slides, where revenue per student, let me back up. So that, again, the key to me is don't get too tangled up in, all the different formulas that go into it. What's important at the end of the day is how much cash do we receive? How much did we get last year? How much did we get this year? Did it go up or did it go down? And in this case, for the state, it went up $7 million, almost 11%. We should be celebrating that. We should be thanking our state legislators. We shouldn't be blaming them and claiming that we need a tax levy increase through the transfer in order to cover for that, okay? If you look at my slides where revenue per student, adjusted for inflation, it's also at an all-time high. So again, take the total revenue, operating revenue, and I've got it over like a 20-year time frame, and it shows revenue per student has been very flat and it's very strong, so that's a good indicator. Now I know the district still wants to transfer this money over. The question is, you know, what story do you have to tell? All right, I don't think blaming it on the state is a good option because the data doesn't support it. The data shows that your revenues are up significantly. Matter of fact, over the last 5 years, the state revenue's up $17 million or 32%. 32% in 5 years the state's given you. So how can you blame them for saying you haven't gotten enough? So I think you need to craft a
Thank you.
little better
Your time is up.
message. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next is Jennifer Main.
Good evening. My comments are going to be a little off the cuff. Apologies in advance for that. I'm usually well written out and rehearsed, but not tonight. So I'm going to take a little bit different tack from the previous speaker. As someone who has lived in the district for several years, who's had children in the district for several years, I've witnessed the small cuts. And those small cuts add up over time. There are things that we used to cover as a district for our families, for our residents, that we don't cover anymore. And so I can acknowledge I haven't done the deep dive into the numbers that he has, but I will say I've witnessed those cuts. And so I want to acknowledge a thought experiment that Mr. McGuire put on his social media a few weeks ago, asking families to put forth things that they would be willing to see cut, things that affect them personally, based on the revenue that's coming in, based on the projected shortfalls. What are you willing to give up? And I want to make a proposition which hurts me at my heart and also at my pocketbook. Some of our advanced classes that I really value very highly, maybe we should start charging for those. Our AP, our honors, our pre-AP classes, maybe families should start footing the bill for that. And if you think about, for example, the world history, the AP world history class that my junior took last year, there were at least 30 kids in each of those classes. There were 4 sections at his high school at Central, and if $500 is charged to each of those students, that covers a significant portion of the salary and benefits for that teacher. This hurts me at my pocketbook because I have high achieving kids who are college bound. We're going to be taking lots of AP, lots of honors, lots of pre-honors and AP classes. It also hurts my heart because I am a firm believer that public education is for everyone, and all of those opportunities should be for everyone. We should be supporting those kids who are college bound. We should be supporting kids who want to go into the trades. We should be supporting kids who need special education services. That is a community benefit. We should be doing it all. But if the community is going to continuously signal that they do not feel that the district needs additional funding, we have to support what the basic education needs is for graduation requirements in the state. We have to take care of our special education needs. And so that leaves things that are extra, like AP classes, to be put by the parents, in my opinion. That's my thought. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Up next is Beth Jameson.
Good evening. I wanted to address the board about facilities. I understand it's on the agenda tonight. I wanted to begin by saying I understand the difficult position that you all are in. As stewards of taxpayer dollars, you have a responsibility to protect district facilities, and repairs are expensive, budgets are tight. No one wants to create unnecessary costs, so I respect that, and I appreciate that you're giving thought to this issue. I'm here tonight as a tennis coach, and it's been really tough to see the courts around the district locked up. I believe we can protect our families while also restoring an opportunity that's benefited the community for many years. Champions are made in the off season, And Francis Howell has built an outstanding reputation for tennis across Missouri, all across the state, by maintaining to maintain that reputation takes access to the courts year-round. Right now, there simply aren't enough public courts in St. Charles County. The park courts are crowded. There's only 18 courts in the St. Charles area in the parks, and we share those with pickleball. And it's not realistic to expect school coaches to come and lock the courts every time students want to practice. So without access to courts, we're unintentionally creating a system where the only reliable option is a private club. Clubs provide tremendous value, but they're also expensive, and families need transportation, schedules have to line up. Not every student has all these opportunities. And tennis shouldn't become a sport that's only available to those students who have financial means to pay for additional access. Student athletes need courts they can walk or bike to, and tennis can't be practiced in the street. You need regulation courts, proper nets, court lines, and fencing. Local school courts provide exactly that. I've spent years on courts at all 3 of these schools as a tennis coach, tennis parent, and instructor. I coordinate tennis leagues, and so I have been basically lived and breathed tennis. I know it adds 10 years to a person's life, and that's through the social aspects as well as the emotional benefits. And the tennis players that have come here to support agree with this. So I believe that the tennis, during my time on the courts, I've been impressed with how respectful the tennis community is, and I can say that there has not been vandalism. In the 2 years that I coached at Francis Howell North, there was no vandalism there. In the 5 years that a prior coach was there, Kate Kleiber, she said she experienced no vandalism, and I sent an email regarding that to a couple of board members as well. I believe there's practical solutions that we can address our concerns. We can put signs up, and I am personally happy to volunteer to lead out on fundraising and administration.
Thank you.
To get those signs.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next is Jace Jameson.
All right. Hello. 1 second. All right. So I'm talking about the Francis Howell North tennis courts as well, and the courts for the rest of the district. I remember often biking up to the Francis Howell North tennis courts where the admin parking lot now is, with both my older brother, who's here, and my doubles partner and best friend. I remember having to wait for a court because all 8 courts were taken. I then remember when they first locked the courts and tore down the fences and nets, turning them into a parking lot for the construction equipment for the new school. It was 3 years until we had new courts. In that time, our team shrunk from the size of a standard Class 3 team to the smallest I know of. Each year we play about 20 teams and many more individual players. Of all of those, for some reason, Francis Howell North is the smallest. Even though we have an amazing program that has I believe only had a losing record 1 time, and we've gone to state, we've only missed state, I think, like twice in the last 10 years. This is what happens when you get rid of courts for the public. And I know the reasoning is vandalism and just public upkeep, but the example given for why vandalism is a problem was that we had to reconstruct 4 of the courts at North, and it was that way whenever they were built. I mean, it is my belief and the belief of all the players and the coaches that that was more of a construction error than actual vandalism. And also, even with that construction error, everybody, the only people that would notice that, let's be honest, this is a high school tennis program, right? The only people that would even notice it were members of the public in the area that were high enough level to really care or notice. On the actual high school tennis program, something of that magnitude wouldn't have been such a big deal. I respectfully ask the board direct the administration to explore reopening the tennis courts to the public with reasonable safeguards in place. I believe we can work together to protect taxpayer investments while investing in the next generation of France Howell North student athletes. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Chase. Up next is Grant Morey.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Grant Morey. I attended Francis Howell schools throughout my schooling, K through 12, and graduated from Howell High in 2016. My comments tonight concern the recent locking of tennis courts and other outdoor athletic facilities under Policy 1420. Until recently, community members could use outdoor facilities like tennis courts, tracks, and fields when not in use by school activities or reserved by community groups. That's how it worked growing up here and how other area districts still operate. Francis Howell is now the outlier and is the only district I'm aware of in the area that currently locks its tennis courts. Policy 1420 has not changed, but its enforcement has. I haven't seen an explanation for why this policy is suddenly being strictly enforced. Has there been vandalism or damage attributable to public use? I certainly haven't observed any, and the courts have been well cared for by the community even before they were resurfaced. Tennis is a growing sport here. On nice evenings, it's common to find all 8 courts at Howell Central full of students, families, and community members. These are excellent facilities, and I understand wanting to preserve them, but it shouldn't come at the expense of the benefit they provide to students in the community. Public court access is already shrinking as local parks convert courts to pickleball. Locking these courts does not just keep the community out, it affects students and athletes on our district's 6 tennis teams, putting them at a disadvantage compared to schools with easier access. Was coach input considered prior to this decision being made to lock the courts? Finally, I'd encourage the board to take a close look at Policy 1420 itself. It applies the same formal reservation and application requirements to individuals, groups, and schools alike, with no distinction between facility types. An outdoor playground or tennis court is treated the same as an indoor facility such as a wrestling room or gym. That's impractical and difficult to enforce consistently. Realistically, few individual users will go through a formal application process for a single evening of court time, which means the practical effect of this policy is nearly a total exclusion of casual community use of all district facilities. For tennis specifically, PIN code access systems like the USTA Smart Access system could give the district control over facility access without a blanket lockout. That may be worth exploring if a middle ground is desired. But if enforcement remains this restrictive, these facilities will see very little use from students or the community outside school hours. Policy 1420 is kept as is for liability reasons. I'd ask the district to reconsider returning
Thank
the
you.
common sense
Your time is
enforcement.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next is Becky Hormuth.
Good evening, President Blair, Superintendent Delaney, and members of the board. I'm here tonight. My name is Becky Hormuth, and I'm a kindergarten teacher at Independence Elementary. Unfortunately, I'm here to address a toxic trend that is directly impacting my life, my family, and my profession. For the past 3 months, I've been the target of an ongoing social media campaign of bullying and defamation attempts, led by a select few adults in this community. These are malicious attempts to destroy my professional reputation and personal peace. Yet despite the true facts, multiple social media posts and comments go so far as containing falsehoods regarding my child's medical information and my educator competence. These are deliberate attempts to ruin my reputation and integrity as a teacher, and sadly, these actions will most likely continue without consequences. Unfortunately, I'm not the first educator in this district who's experienced a high level of bullying, harassment, and intimidation this year, and sadly, I won't be the last. So I ask you to explore and really contemplate. When a teacher is subjected to this level of community hostility, where is our shield? Currently, our district has robust, necessary policies to protect students from bullying, but when we have a glaring blind spot when it comes to protecting the adults who serve them. When community members use outright lies to defame and intimidate an educator, the district cannot remain neutral. I stand before you tonight to speak on behalf of the backbone of our district, which is our educators and school staff. Specifically, I'm asking this board to formally consider and initiate the development of a comprehensive board regulation designed to protect our district's educators and staff from bullying, harassment, intimidation, and intentional defamation. We need a clear framework that outlines how the district will investigate these claims, support targeted employees, and actively push back against malicious misinformation targeting its staff. I love teaching. I love my kindergarten students. But no educator should have to walk into their classroom carrying the heavy burden of community-led defamation. We cannot expect our educators to cultivate the safe, welcoming spaces for our children if they do not feel safe and valued themselves. Retaining high-quality teachers in Francis Howell requires us to be proactive in our actions, not reactive with just words. Please lead by example and show our staff that in Francis Howell we do not just appreciate them in theory, but that we protect them in policy.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Tia Soar.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education and everyone gathered here today. Tonight, I will be addressing the policy that keeps Francis Howell School's tennis courts locked up. My name is Tia Sawyer, and I'm a rising junior and a member of the Francis Howell North tennis team. For the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to play at our school's new tennis courts, and they've become much more than just a place to practice. They become a place where students, families, and members of our communities come together. These courts are some of our best courts in our area. Unlike nearby courts, they aren't cracked. The nets are in great condition. They're clean. With 8 courts available, they provide plenty of space for people to play. They're a valuable resource that benefits our only school, but not only our school, but our community. I understand and respect the concern about protecting the courts from damage. We all want to keep them in excellent condition. However, keeping them completely closed takes away opportunities for students to improve their skills, stay active, and spend time in a safe and healthy environment. Tennis is one of the few sports that people of all ages can enjoy together, and these courts give families and young athletes a place to do exactly that. As a student athlete, I know firsthand not only how important consistent practice is. Not everyone has access to private clubs or transportation to these courts farther away. For many students, these courts are the most convenient and sometimes only the place to play outside of school practices. Instead of keeping the courts closed, I encourage the board to consider solutions that both protect the court and keep them accessible, whether that means limiting hours, setting clear rules, or increasing supervision. I believe that we can preserve these beautiful courts without preventing the community from enjoying them. I respectfully ask you to reconsider opening all the tennis courts of the Francis Howell School District. They were built to serve students and our community, and I hope that they can continue to do so for many years to come. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, and I just want to say thank you, especially to students for letting us hear your voices tonight as well. Up next, we have our two well, we'll start with FHEA and then follow that up with FISPA.
Good evening, my name is Francine Hill and I am the FHEA president. We want to welcome Pam Irwin to our Chiefs team and look forward to working with her. Joining our district in this time of uncertainty shows her willingness to take on difficult things and tackle challenges. Many of our schools are also welcoming new administration to their buildings. FHEA has wonderful building reps that are a great resource, and we hope that these administrators will tap into their knowledge and relationships to build trust and teamwork in their new schools. FHEA has over 50-year history in the Francis Howell School District and takes pride in helping keep open lines of communication. We wish everyone success in their new positions. FHEA is excited to host the new teacher orientation breakfast on August 6th. It's always fun to talk to all the new hires and get to know them. We hope that this can also be a celebration of continued funding for our school districts across the state. Please get accurate information about Amendment 5 and Amendment 4. Both are amendments taking things away. Amendment 5 allows taxes to be raised and added that can cost more to the average taxpayer. Amendment 4 takes away the weight of your vote. No matter how you vote, your vote should count. Every vote matters. We hope everyone enjoys the rest of their summer, and we look forward to seeing everyone again in August. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is FISPA.
Thank you, President Blair. My name is Heidi Nixon. I am the FISPA Vice President for Technicians. Tonight, we would like to take the time to focus on the staff that works the entire summer to prepare our campuses for the next school year. Our custodians move furniture out of the classrooms, sanitizing desks and chairs as they go. They then clean and wax the floors and eventually move everything back into the classrooms. They manage to get all of this done under time constraints while working around construction. Some staff are even working in buildings with no HVAC where temperatures reach upwards of 100 degrees, so our students can come back to shiny floors and clean furniture. Our maintenance crews are hard at work repairing fixtures, building new classrooms, and making sure our schools are safe and comfortable for the next school year. Grounds crews are beautifying our campuses and keeping the grass cut in this hot weather. Technology is replacing older Chromebooks and fixing current ones to prepare for new and returning students. They're also making sure our new teachers have the technology they need to make our students successful. Last but not least, our clerical staff is hard at work making sure new and current students are welcome, enrolled, and provided with the information needed for the new school year. We would like to thank all of these hardworking staff members for their contributions in making sure our schools are ready to welcome everyone for the 26-27 school year, and we hope they are able to find some time to spend with their families and friends to relax and recharge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So board, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Ryder, followed by McGuire. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. And so, right now, item 11, I believe on the, I'm going to scroll up. Yeah, we're referring to the no tax rate increase bond resolution, Prop H. So since the June 18th board approval, Prop H motion language has been modified. The revised Prop H new motion language is on the agenda for approval for the November 3rd ballot. And so board, I'm going to make sure the resolution is spoken and then we'll talk about the language. Board, I have a motion for a resolution calling an election in the Francis Howell School District, St. Charles County, Missouri, the district, on the question of whether to borrow money in the amount of $150 million for the purpose of constructing, repairing, renovating, expanding, improving, furnishing and equipping school and district facilities, and to issue general obligation bonds for the payment thereof, which is estimated to result in no change to the district's debt service tax levy and no increase in the total tax levy of the district, designating the time of holding said election, and authorizing and directing the Secretary of the Board of Education of the district to give notice of said election. Do you have a first?
So moved. Second.
Vice President Greider, followed by Director Owens. Discussion board. You will see in your notes for everybody, for the public, that the language on the ballot has been edited to be clear to understand. We understand that people who are coming into the voting booth may or may not have been watching our Francis Howell School Board meetings. We want to make sure that they have the clearest, most easy to understand language possible, and the change included refers to that. It allows us to provide that clear language.
I guess just to clarify for questions, it says estimated tax levy is not going to change. It says that because our current debt levy that we collect, based on current financial situation of the country, says we should be able to borrow these bonds at a rate that we will not change the debt levy.
That is correct.
And that's why it says estimated, because it's based on the financial situation at the time.
That is correct. I need to hit this button. That is correct.
Other questions? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion passes. Board, I have a motion to approve the Finance and Operations Report as presented. Director Adams, followed by Vice President Greider. And our new Deputy Superintendent of Finance and Operations, Pam Irwin, is making her debut tonight. So welcome to Pam. So glad to have you. And she will present.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, Board of Education and Community, for the opportunity to share an update tonight on the 26-27 school budget. I'm honored and excited to be part of the Francis Howell community and look forward to working with everyone that's here. I've met wonderful people so far, and I'm encouraged and excited about being here. Board, you will recall that on June 18th, 2026, you approved the 26-27 budget recommendation as presented by Dr. St. John. So tonight, I'm going to share the first of the monthly updates for the 26-27 budget. Oh, I have the paper. There we go. Okay. So we start with a familiar slide indicating the FY27 budget amendments and transfers. During the first month of 27, no amendments or transfers are needed. We're in the final stages of completing the 25-26 school year. As shared with you last month, we are on target to transfer unused operating funds from Fund 10 and 20 to the Health Fund. We're estimating that the Health Fund will need a transfer of approximately $3 million, and the Dental Fund will need a transfer of $185,000. The estimates are included in the unaudited beginning fund balance, and the final numbers will be shared next month as we continue to work on closing everything out. These numbers are included in the information in the subsequent slides where we discuss the fund balance. So we'll get a little bit deeper into each one of those numbers here in the next couple of slides. So this table is something that you've seen also quite a bit, but I want to stress that the FY26 is not final. What you see in this column where it's now orange, that little top tab is orange, are the estimates. We will be submitting our final FY26 information to the state by August 15th, and even beyond that, changes will continue to be made as final expenditures are finalized. What you see in this updated table are the projected final 25-26 actuals. The information shared in June showed that we were expecting to have a net operating fund balance increase of just under $500,000. That was in the June presentation. What we are seeing is that revenue came in higher than expected, and expenses came in below what was projected. When we create the budget in July, we are always projecting the ending balance estimate that all revenue will come in as projected and all expenses will play out as planned. So many of those pieces are out of our control, so we can't always, we get as close as we possibly can. As you can see, the additional revenue reference shown in this table provides a slightly higher fund balance for the end of the 25-26 fiscal year. A couple of the contributing factors can be seen in the bullets on the right. So you see that table to the right outlines where some of those additional dollars came from. We received an additional $2.2 million in revenue in the local line, with the majority of that being delinquent taxes. The state funds for SAT and Classroom Trust Fund also came in slightly higher than expected when we received those final payments also at the end of June. We also received an additional $429,000 in ECSE funding, which is early childhood funding. The 26-27 column, which is that green column, will be the column we work from this year each month to show projections as we move through this fiscal year. Once the audit is complete, we will do a more in-depth analysis as we get more information from the audit, which is that audit process has started and will continue. We will do a more in-depth analysis of the FY26 revenue expenses to then make adjustments to FY27. What adjustments might we make for the revenue projections of FY27 given this new information that we have? It's recommended, and I've talked to several people about this, that we do not make any adjustments to revenue until final tax calculations are completed in September, and we have that information. We only make adjustments with concrete information. So right now, some of the adjustments are, we have some of that, but till we get everything finalized, we will make those additional changes. Looking at the state line for budgeting purposes, we are using a flat state aid projection of $6,700. If you remember that last month, Dr. St. John mentioned that that has been the guidance from DESE, is to use a conservative estimate to continue budgeting conservatively. So that's what you see on that line across on the state line. That number is based on a $6,700 figure. We'll be working with others around the state to figure out how best to run scenarios for budget projections given the future SAT changes, moving from this year's 80-20. If you remember last year we were 90-10, this year we're at 80-20 configuration to 70-30 on down to that 50-50 split between membership and attendance. This increase in revenue shows an increase in the fund balance from our projected fund balance of 27.18%, which was shared with you last month, to a 29.95%. That's what is showing this year with those this month with those additional revenues figured in. So to go just a little bit deeper into where those additional dollars came from, working with Carol and Bree, we put together a table showing the estimates that were shared at the June 18th meeting to the actuals that were completed just a week or so later after that meeting. So to dig into this a little bit further to tell the story of those additional revenues, I want to show you this, how this table is put together. This table shows you the 25-26 estimate reported to the board on the 18th. We received additional revenue shared in the previous slide in the local category, which is primarily that delinquent tax amount. The increase in revenue in the state line is from that basic formula in the classroom budget, also referred to on that previous slide. You can also see slight reductions in county and federal and a slight increase in other. This resulted in additional revenue over projections shared in June at $4,261,912. This chart also shows the story of a decrease in expenses from projections shared in June to the actuals posted. You'll see that salary and benefits came in less than projected. Purchase services was slightly over budget, while again supplies was under budget. Expenditures incurred came in under budget in the amount of $2.2 million, meaning less than 1% of that entire operating budget remains. So pretty good budgeting when you're looking at the size of the budget that we're working with. This savings added to the additional revenue gave us the additional funds to add to our fund balance of $6,971,326, which is the story behind moving from that 27.18% fund balance to the 29.95% fund balance. Okay. The next slide is also another one that you've seen often. I mean, it has been adjusted with the new numbers figured in. And you see that we now have this as with the new 25-26 ending fund balance with the additional revenue. It shows the current year of FY27 and then 3 subsequent years out. The line in the chart takes into account the percentages outlined in the table to the right. which is the local tax, whether it's a assessment year or a non-assessment year. It takes into account the 3% gross pay that is projected, as well as the benefits at 8%, which is typically our insurance. This does not take into account if voters approve the debt levy service transfer on the ballot in November. That is not something that we have started figuring in yet, but I'll be working with Julie Walsh in the next few weeks so that next month we can start showing you some projections of what that will look like should that be approved. So we'll have some charts next to each other at next month's meeting with that information. The next slide is our bond information, and this is the bond that we are finishing up. You'll see that we have, this slide shows us what the fund balance is when all of the planned projects have been completed. With this month's expenditures included, we have a balance available of $1,112,855, which is available to cover the remaining bond work that is still needed to be completed or billed. So some of those that work has been done, but it hasn't been billed yet. So that those funds are available to finish with that bond project. The next slide is about the self-insurance fund. Our insurance fund continues to struggle. For the prior school year, we transferred $6 million from operating budget to the self-insurance fund. As Dr. St. John shared last month, our target goal is to have 3 months of payments in reserve. And so this number is determined by taking the total fund expenditures that you see in the middle column, which is just a little over $32 million. Divide that by 12 months, which equals 2.6 million, and then you times that times 3, and we're looking at wanting a fund balance in there between 7.8 and $8 million. Currently, we have just a little over $5.5 million in that fund. We've already transferred $1 million into the health fund for FY26. With the numbers shared in this table, you see to get us to the recommended fund balance, we need to transfer $2,443,434. We're proposing a transfer of $3 million given past year's expenditures from the health fund for the self-insurance fund, and then planning to transfer $185,000 to the dental insurance fund. And then end of year processes. So we final expenditures and revenues for FY26 have been posted. Reconciliations and potential adjustments will occur as a review of data is conducted, resulting in journal entries. So as we continue to work with the auditors, go through those final reconciliations, there will be adjustments that need to be made, and those journal entries just mean that instead of paying it out of this fund, we might be paying something out of another fund. The financial auditor, Honcamp PC, conducted preliminary field work at the beginning of June with some additional dates coming up in October. We've got a couple weeks scheduled with them in October. The final report to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education must be submitted by December 31st. And the ASBR has to be submitted in Missouri by August, in August. So we'll do that one first, but once we've submitted the one in August, we can still make amendments up to that December 31st date. So we still have some time to make some adjustments based on auditor recommendation in October. And the last slide I have to show, you saw this last month as well. I just wanted to provide this again and kind of give an update. So the dependent verification for employee insurance will start hopefully tomorrow. You approved the contract tonight, or will approve. That is on the agenda tonight to approve the contract for that service. And as soon as that is approved, then the finance department will be working with the company to get that process started. Phase 2 HVAC systems will occur through the summer with completion set for August 1st. Those are on target. We will be transitioning to the new point of sale system for food and nutrition. You've heard Dr. St. John talk about that. Marilyn Colvin will be working with administration next week, as well as food service staff in the coming weeks to ensure we have a successful implementation to this new process. I've heard lots of people talk about the excitement of that transition to moving away from RevTrack. My previous district used RevTrack, so I'm going to share with them this implementation because I know how much trouble we had with RevTrack. So knowing there's something else out there is a good thing. The technology team has been working on the redistribution of devices to move to one-to-one at the secondary level. As Heidi Nixon mentioned, having no HVAC in some of those buildings has been a hardship, and but Scott Gowan shares his team will have things ready to roll for the start of the 26-27 school year. And finally, Julie and the finance team are working diligently ensuring everything is tied up for the 25-26 school year. And as I mentioned before, that audit process will continue through October. And we all know how much fun sometimes audits are in working with auditors, so that's always can sometimes be a tense time. To finish up, I want to end this presentation by thanking Ms. Julie Walsh and her team for the support and work it takes to gather this information. I know I've asked lots and lots and lots of questions as I've worked through this to make sure that I understand and can speak to the things that were in the presentation tonight. And then I also want to call out another thank you to Mr. Stetzer. Even though he has started his new position, he has been willing to help us out and work through some of the things that we've been working with these last couple weeks, and providing some additional insight and information to the board even for tonight's meeting. So I want to make sure that we thank him for his thoughts and words as we're working through some of the other topics that are on the agenda tonight.
Board, do you have any questions?
Firstly, we're more scared of you than you are of us.
I don't know about that.
Secondly, thank you for the presentation. Awesome job. I promised my eldest and her friend that I would ask this question. When could they expect to receive information on when they get their nice shiny Chromebooks?
I'm going to turn that over to the first week of school.
Did you hear that, Lucy? First week of school. Leave me alone.
And just while we're on that particular topic, there's access to one-to-one technology before this. We just changed the distribution plan.
Correct.
So right now, because of this change, high schoolers will have their own assigned Chromebook. And by doing that, we'd actually save the district $300,000 this year. That, again, want to make sure we're sharing that. Gotcha. So we made this change that both improved our students' ability to have access to technology for education, and also saved the district and taxpayers money at the same time. So very thankful for you to be able to do both those things in one decision. I had one question. When we had conversations about the staff and employee insurance change, one of the concerns was that the staff needed to be informed of the changes, and there needed to be a lot of effort to make sure they knew that these are the changes that are happening and how to enroll and all this stuff. Is that also part of the work in progress? What does that look like? I appreciate, again, the dependent verification for employee insurance, but just want to make sure that there's the district effort along with union effort to make sure the staff knows.
Yeah, I would say that as we go through re-enrollment, all of those things are communicated to all staff. This approval of Lumelight is kind of that first piece for that independent verification. But we have had plan books that will be shared when re-enrollment begins that will outline all the different costs. Additionally, I would say in this district, we have always done some things where we provide opportunities for staff to come in to meet with members of our benefits team to explain to individuals one-on-one that want those opportunities to better understand the choices that they're making regarding their healthcare decisions from those plans. So all of those things will roll out.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Speaking up for stuff I've seen online, the food and nutrition point of sale system we updated to now goes to Infinite Campus. Is that what that's referring to correctly?
Correct.
I guess in the old system, additional guardians could put money on there, and now it's limited to as access to the student in Infinite Campus. Would that be correct? And if so, can we double check that and make sure that grandparents can put money on kids' cards?
I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I would say, we can certainly look into it, but we would be limited by what the system allows us to do and who has access to a student's educational record. But absolutely, we will look into it.
Anything we can do for grandparents, and if we can, that's great. If not, I understand technology
Certainly
bites us sometimes. Thank you.
And along that front, I believe we have somebody on staff, I think it was Grace Painter, who's aware of a lot of different students in different kind of living situations. So just to make sure whatever that question is would also apply to any of those living situations as well. Thank you. Director Adams.
Thank you. Mr. Delaney, going back to President Blair's question about how staff are being communicated to about the benefits, when is this, the enrollment information slated to start going out to staff? Approximately.
Yeah, so our new communications manager that we're really excited to have on board is working with Aaron Poggi this coming week to kind of plan all those out. But usually it's end of July, early August. We start all the open enrollment messaging kind of as staff are getting back in the swing of things for the new school year. So it will be before school starts out. Yeah.
Perfect. That was the only thing I wanted to ask, just because of the changes being made. I know that some people are going to have to adjust their budget, so I wanted to make sure that they receive the information as soon as possible. Thank you.
I guess the last question I have is for the self-insurance transfer. That's what we're recommending and expecting. However, some surprise costs come in, you might come back to us at some point in the next year to pick a different number.
Yeah, I mean, I can't guarantee that we'll want to have to transfer something else, more additional funds into that insurance fund during the fiscal year FY27. I can't guarantee that because, as you stated, if higher claims come in, we'll have to backfill.
So are we basing claims on last year, the previous year, or are you just saying to get us to that 3-year mark, that's what we need?
The 3-month mark.
3-month mark,
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm making the assumption that we are basing it off of last year's claims. Yes.
Okay.
Anything else, board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
First one down.
So board, I have a motion to approve the purchases as presented. Director Adams, Vice President Greider. Board, have any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Next, due to the nature and scope of this contract, it's being presented as an individual action item for the board approval, even though the contracted amount is below the $25,000 threshold. The board, I have a motion to approve Loomlight to provide services for a dependent eligibility verification audit to ensure the district is only covering eligible dependents on the district health insurance plans. Do you have a first and second?
So moved.
Director Adams, second by Director Owens. Board, do you have any questions?
One question about the contract is, have we done our due diligence to ensure that this company is going to protect all of the personally identifiable information? Because I'm sure that's going to be one of the concerns that staff have when they're handing over social security numbers and other information.
Okay, I do want to confirm a little bit with Julie Walsh, and she is standing back there. However, I do know that we have ran this contract by legal, and that was one of the reasons why it is now being brought to the board, because legal recommended that we have a formal board approval rather than just doing the other process approval. So if Julie has anything to add, but we have run it by legal counsel already.
And they are comfortable that this company will protect the information of our employees and their dependents?
Director Adams, I would say we would not be bringing a recommendation to the board if we didn't believe that our employees' information was going to be protected.
I understand that. I think it was one of those questions that needed to be said out loud, just for the staff to know that due diligence had been put into before they hand over their social security number, if that makes sense.
And Ms. Walsh, I saw you standing up. Do you have anything you want to share, or are you just just available? Thank you. Any other conversation on this topic? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. So next up, we have a discussion regarding athletic facility fees and usage. If you're able to go online, you can see a number of regulations or policies in front of you. You can click on that and engage the conversation through that way as well. We used this version of a agenda item a few times over the last year. Basically, we'll put 15 minutes on the clock, and we will not talk for longer than 15 minutes on this particular topic. We will start with every board member having an opportunity to speak for a minute on their concerns, questions, and then we'll have opportunity for the district to respond as well. Again, for everybody to be aware that if everybody gets one chance to speak for 1 minute, then we'll go back around, everybody gets a second chance to speak for 1 minute, and start doing the math in your head in terms of how much time you want to make sure the admin has to answer questions we may have for them. So, Director Adams, you and I had a conversation about when to put this on the agenda, so I'd like for you to be the first person to share questions or concerns.
Thank you. For my first round, so to speak, I just have a question I'd like to ask administration that follows an email exchange I had with a community member. I asked the administration if there was any vandalism to the courts. The response was there was one notable occurrence requiring resurfacing. The response from the resident was this was not due to vandalism, this was due to a construction error. I was on the court with the head coach at the time, and it goes on, but saying that it wasn't vandalism. So to administration, can you please provide some instances of when vandalism has occurred and how much money we spend to rectify the vandalism?
Director Adams, I don't have any additional information beyond what was shared when the board submitted their questions to us regarding the incidents in Friends Howell North. This recommendation or this change comes because we're following board policy. If you, as one of our community patrons shared, 1420 clearly outlines whether you're a community member, a student. There's a facility rental usage agreement. Back on June 4th, the board approved a fee structure for the use of tennis courts. I know that there's a lot of passion around opening the tennis courts, and this is a change. I would also say that out of our state audit that came, there was a deep dive and lens into ensuring that we are following our board policies, and because one of the patrons asked why the change, because we are following the policy that is written currently. Additionally, yes, we believe that the opportunities are there for patrons. There's equitable opportunities for patrons to rent facilities across this district. And I know that tonight we're talking about tennis players, but we also have basketball players that would like to have the gym open at any time that they want. We have athletes that want to use the football field or soccer fields or baseball fields across the board. And so I would say at this time what we're trying to do is be good stewards of our taxpayer money, ensure that our facilities are protected, secured, and as well make sure that our community does have opportunity to rent those facilities, and that's why we've designed it in this way and following with our board policy.
Next board member.
I can go. I think that we should probably take a look at the policy. I understand that we have, competing interests between sharing our facilities with the community that helps fund all of that, and then making sure that we are good stewards of those assets as well. It's a hard pill for me to swallow, knowing that, I've gone up there with my kids over decades too, to use the courts, and I feel like, walking the tracks and doing the thing, so it's really hard, when you invest millions and millions and millions of dollars to new facilities and you want to protect them, and funding continues to be a challenge and everything. So I understand that. I feel like sometimes we just err a little bit too much on the conservative side and forget that we serve a community as well that can benefit from this, and not only just the community, but our athletes, our students, and things too. So I think it's worth taking this to policy committee or looking at, seeing how we can serve both needs.
Thank you.
Are we going in order?
Whoever wants to speak next.
I also agree that we should relook at the policy. When I see that the other districts around us are allowing their citizens to use the tennis courts, I don't see why we would need to be different. At the least, we should have something like a code that the students that are on the tennis team can get in and practice. But my son's a coach, and I know, he was a basketball coach, and he let kids in the gym to practice. So there has to be some way to do this. I think we can figure out how to make this work for the most people possible, because that's our job, is to help our students and help them to grow in every way, including physically. So I think we need to look at this and not just say, nope, can't do it anymore. I don't think that's right. I think too many people enjoy it, and I think it's something that we can provide that doesn't cost us anything if we do it correctly. We have rules to follow, and I think we can make something happen for a lot of people that is good.
Thank you.
So I also brought this up because, no disrespect to our tennis players, I used other facilities outdoors for a long portion of my life that have now been locked up, maybe when I was a little bit lighter and faster. Now those same athletes cannot use them, just as the tennis players cannot use them. So I do not want this to only be a tennis court discussion. It is for all our student athletes in every sport. Is there a way we can support them? At the same time, I want to be a good steward to our taxpayers. Just because taxes paid for it doesn't mean taxpayers get access. There is a very nice police car in the parking lot I do not get to drive. We've accepted that taxes are for purposes. This money was from the community for student usage for schools. If we can find a way, I would love a way to expand that in a reasonable and responsible nature that maybe can include the community. I don't know if that is us rewriting the policy so that there is limited hours of usage. And I understand the buildings probably can't be open for safety reasons. If we rewrite the policy, is there a reasonable way that we could open up some of these facilities for set times? And I don't know if that's possible. I think we should consider it.
Thank you. We can come back to you as well. It is important that we are stewards of taxpayer money, and that would allow good taxpayers access. However, also being a steward of taxpayer money means to be able to maintain the quality of it for its intended use. For me, I will err on the side of whatever we can do for students first, and then lean on that. First of all, it's an amazing ringtone, so thank you for the timing of that one. It played Sweet Child of Mine while we're talking about kids in tennis courts. So, I want to lean on the side of what we can do for kids, and I would be in favor of especially finding a way forward that honors like tennis teams or soccer teams, anything that has some kind of blessing of the staff member who is associated with the teams. I am more interested in the students maintaining as much access as they can have versus just another community member. It doesn't always have to be either or, but given the two, I would always steer towards whatever is best for the kids. I will say, let's go right back around. Anybody else want to make a follow-up second comment?
So I just want to read this out just to make sure I get this out. I want to be clear that administration is not to blame, and for the policy that they are enforcing, the views that I have heard and made should be in no way seen as us throwing them under the bus. As Superintendent Delaney said, they are doing what they are supposed to do. They're following board-approved policy. So residents bringing this to the board for reconsideration was the right thing to do if they're asking for a change. So I just want to make sure that everyone that's out there that spoke, please know that administration is 100% doing the right thing by enforcing the policy as was approved. So for the second round, I just want to give my opinion on what I would like to see happen. Before I move to the Francis Howell School District, I live in the Fort Zumwalt School District, and I use their running tracks all the time. I'm already over. I use their running tracks all the time, and they've recently closed their running tracks, as has the school district for years. I've also heard from students both tonight and over email they can't practice. I'm not a tennis player. I could barely play badminton, but I do know that a tennis court built in a school is built differently than a tennis court in a park. So saying go practice in the park, they're open all the time, that doesn't fly. The ball doesn't bounce the same way as it does in a professionally built court. So the other side of this is that we're asking our community twice in November to help us. And I feel that it's only right for us to give back to our community. They help paid for the facilities, not just at North, but at Howell and at Central as well. And while the facilities are primarily for students, I think that we owe it to our community to find a compromise. I understand where Superintendent Delaney is coming from, as well as Director McGuire. But I think we should take each facility at a time so we can look at the individual risks and costs and things that we should bear in mind. But we can make a start here with the courts while we still have some summer left and students are eager to practice and there's still daylight. So I would be open to seeing them reopened along with the appropriate policy changes with deterrent signs saying that they will be locked if there is damage, and under no circumstances should the nets be adjusted, aka for pickleball players. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member of extra comment?
Well, I mean, another thing we could do is have cameras. They don't have security cameras at this point, correct? And I read the thing about that, the distance and all that. But, I mean, I think there's a way we could do some monitoring.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything is possible, right? I think if you put cameras on a court and if we found damage on those courts, somebody could certainly investigate. The challenge sometimes is that takes away our administrators from their day-to-day jobs of supporting students and teachers in the building and trying to investigate the possibility of community issues that happened on our facilities. I hear a lot of conversation about trying to explore different options, and I think that certainly can be done. It's just about trying to find what that balance is, and with every option that's found, you potentially create some other impact to some other thing. But I'm certainly hearing a potential around a change of policy.
Yeah, I just simply stated, I think we've overcorrected on this one. I think we tried to solve a problem that we didn't necessarily have, and it's not that we always want to wait until we have a big problem and something terrible happens, and then we're like, oh no, what have we done? But in this case, I feel like this is something that really helps not only just serve the community and serve our students, but really it does, like, having access to these public school facilities does help us create a sense of community also, that we really need to build community whenever and wherever we can, I feel. And this is just one little small way that I think people feel connected to the schools. So I'd definitely like us to look at opening the courts, and then we can look at policy updates to be in line with that as well.
I guess I'd like to reiterate the fact what Jason said, that the board nor the admin did something in response to anything else out there other than to enforce the existing policy that's been out there for a long time. I understand the courts were not locked before this, but maybe that's because the policy was not being enforced to the letter of the law. So now we're looking at potentially changing that policy in a way that would support everyone. I will say I'm very risk adverse, and we are a very litigious society with legal risk. The idea of just having the courts open all the time is not something I think I would support. That's why I would like to discuss and for the administration to come to us with a recommendation of way that the courts could be open for limited times to make sure they're not open from midnight to 6 a.m. or something.
Sure.
Because that seems very risky to me.
I think some districts, they lock them when it's dark.
But somebody has to lock them.
Right, that's the thing.
But we are not a park. We do not have park rangers.
Right.
We do not have people coming by to lock doors at certain times of day. Taxes are collected for parks for that reason, to lock those gates at those times of days. We don't have those people.
Maybe a custodian could do it. It works all night.
All right. So what I'm hearing for the board is there is a collective desire for policy to be changed to reflect the ability to offer more access of the facilities for public use, and also to have that prioritize student use. So if the err on one side or another, err on the side of access to kids versus access to me or adults, but it may not even require either or, but of the two. I also want to identify that again, that the district was just following policy that exists. Nothing was done wrong by the district. We're just following policy, and we need to be able to pay closer attention to the policies.
And audit recommendations.
And audit recommendations in terms of the state audit included a recommendation to follow policy on this front. And
Okay, we did.
Sorry. It's gonna be that loud.
I'd like to clarify. I'd like to clarify if you agree on that statement to facility usage. We are only talking about exterior facilities for safety and other reasons. There's still going to be. You want the basketball courts and gyms to be available beyond the current system?
I'm not, so no to the insight, but all we've discussed this evening is tennis. We haven't even talked about the tracks and baseball and the football fields. I don't want to put us in, that would be us moving way too fast. Let's start with the tennis and then see what administration comes back with first.
So I appreciate that. When you look at policy, I would recommend you suggest policy. Start off with tennis, but if you want to have a conversation, not just about that, but to understand how it understandably would impact other external outdoor.
I think we can work with our facilities team to try to get a better understanding of maybe some neighboring districts. I do know that some districts, their exterior facilities are completely locked at all times. Some are not. I do know that some of the districts that are not, they have exterior turnstiles. So individuals can get in through, I think you all know what I'm talking about when I talk about a turnstile. Our facilities do not have turnstiles, which would mean that we're just completely opening the gates. That potentially creates an opportunity for e-bikes, motorcycles, e-scooters, all of those things to be ridden on tracks, fields, surfaces. Those would be things that we would have to weigh. But I do hear the board that they'd like us to take a look at that policy and see what potentially could be amended.
President, do you mind if I say one more thing real quick?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. I just want to be clear that I'm in no way against people that feel that they want access to the facilities that I just called out, but there are different upkeeps for football fields and soccer fields and baseball fields that needs a whole different conversation. So please don't take my comments as absolutely not. It's just we need to discuss them with a little bit more detail pertaining to the type of turf and whatnot that they would be using.
Thank you to the board. I thought we did pretty good besides that loud noise. And for the public, just be aware that the board, we can't have these conversations in private. So what you're hearing might sound like clunky, unrehearsed, because we can't have these conversations in private because it would violate quorum rules, right? So I appreciate you all watching us do the sausage making of school board management. Okay. Up next, regarding curriculum first reading, there's some curriculum documents that are being presented for a first reading. They will be brought back to the August 13th, 2026 Board of Education meeting for a second reading and a vote. So everybody take a look at that. That includes 7th grade ELA, honors ELA, AP music theory, and again, a lot of work that goes into the development of these for our presentation, our review. Up next, we have Warren Elementary update. The board will have an update on the mold remediation process at Warren Elementary from first on-site. We'll begin with Ms. Irwin.
Okay. So I'm going to read a statement first before I bring up representatives from First Onsite and Pension. So during the recent HVAC project at Warren Elementary, a combination of factors resulted in elevated humidity levels in the building. These conditions led to the development of surface mold in multiple areas of the building. We immediately engaged environmental professionals to conduct testing and provide remediation recommendations while taking steps to begin remediation and minimizing that spread. Commercial dehumidifiers and air scrubbers were deployed throughout the building and are still in the building, operating to reduce humidity and stabilize conditions. The HVAC system was fully put back in place and updated and brought back online last week to further support humidity control. Impacted areas were isolated with plastic barriers, also to minimize spread and to allow remediation work to begin once that final plan and scope was outlined. So the idea was that not only would we mitigate the spread, but it would also have the facility ready to go as soon as we had the company selected and ready to move forward. Staff have been instructed not to enter the building during this process to allow remediation activities to proceed in the most efficient manner. So following the assessments, an RFP outlining the necessary scope of work was developed from those recommendations. 3 different vendors submitted bids. Selection of the vendor was completed through the bidding process with board approval at the emergency meeting yesterday, July 15th. We expect remediation efforts to conclude around August 4th. At that time, another assessment, including professional air quality sampling, will be completed to ensure the environment is safe for students and staff to return. Tonight, we have Megan Kinker, Environmental Project Manager from Pension. I think that's how you pronounce it. Pension is one of the environmental firms hired to assess the risks in the Warren Elementary facility, and that company will also oversee the project to ensure the work is being done in accordance to the scope and the contract. In addition, Pension will provide the third-party testing to get needed clearance to allow us to be back in the building and to allow staff and students in the building. She's here to answer questions to the specifics of the findings of the assessment and proposed protocols for remediation. We also have Jeff Owens, Operations Manager from First Onsite, which was the company that was selected yesterday during the board meeting, who can speak to the specific processes and proposed scope of work to be completed throughout the remediation project. First Onsite used the RFP to develop their scope of work, ensuring a safe environment for students and staff. So I will now turn it over to both Ms. Kinker and Mr. Owens and his team to kind of share their information and then be able to answer any questions of the board.
Before we get to that, I have a question. Are we going to talk about how this occurred at some point? Because it's all moving very, very fast. Should we save that till after their presentation? Because they're talking about how to fix it. Are we going to have to be able to ask questions about how we got here?
Yes, definitely you can ask questions about how we got here, but I think the important thing to note is I'm not a scientist, so anything that I'm sharing is pure speculation. I mean, I think I have an idea of how mold is formed, but an environmental scientist is probably the best person to ask how mold forms in a school building. I think Pension would probably be able to give us the best idea, and I'm hopeful that that might be part of the process of what is shared today with the board.
Thank you.
So actually, if First Onsite and Pension could go ahead and come up to the podium, to that point, maybe this is where Treasurer McGuire was speaking. Yesterday we had a emergency board meeting to approve First Onsite, correct? That was Wednesday. And on Tuesday, around 5 p.m. is when you received the RFPs, correct? So like timeline, what's the timeline for, we found the problem, we quickly responded, we did the RFP, the board acted, now we're here.
We had individuals on site Monday, I believe it was July 6th, to start with some of the air scrubbers, the dehumidifiers in the building, those pieces of equipment, and then to start setting up some of the barriers that were placed throughout the building. We were seeking some additional feedback from environmentalists, which occurred the following Monday. We got some information from Pension regarding some recommendations and to develop that RFP. That RFP was developed and submitted out. And then I believe we got them back on Tuesday night at 5 p.m. after we submitted them out Monday at about 5 p.m. And then obviously we scheduled an emergency board meeting yesterday at 1 p.m. And the board selected the vendor that is here today to talk a little bit about the remediation process.
And before we get to there, we chose to have the approval happen through an emergency open meeting because we wanted it to be increasingly transparent in the process. Like, we didn't necessarily have to do it that way, but there was a intentional choice to have that happen through an open session board meeting yesterday.
That is correct, and also, there are some Missouri statutes that guide construction, and so someone could consider some of these construction type projects because it's not just potentially remediation and cleaning, and so we felt to be safest, it was best to bring it to the board for a vote of the board, and also to submit the RFPs to different vendors to get the best price to support the safe and clean environment, but also for our taxpayers.
So for everybody who's following along, on Monday at 5 p.m. we had a clear picture of what the needs were. There's an RFP that was created. By Tuesday at 5 p.m. the RFPs have been received. And then yesterday at 1 p.m. we had an emergency Zoom meeting so that the public can see, whether it's live or look on YouTube to see the conversation that took place. So thank you all for being able to point at all those steps that were made and why we're moving so quickly. And you guys will talk about what date we're aiming for. Yes.
Sorry, this is the best place to ask this question. It's a difficult question, but it's one that needs to be asked because we all want to be transparent and demonstrate transparency. I had been sent information that an emergency custodial ticket was submitted on Friday, but a decision not to visit the site wasn't made until Monday. Can you speak to that, please?
Director Adams, I was not aware of an emergency ticket that was submitted. I did receive an email on July 3rd, which was an email that I did not receive. I wasn't checking my email on that day. I did not receive any type of an emergency phone call. And that's why when I did see my email, we started that process as early as we could on that Monday.
Okay, thank you. Is it possible for you to look into the accuracy of what I mentioned? Because if that ticket was issued on a Friday and it was flagged as emergency with mold, knowing what was going on in the building, why someone wasn't on site on Friday that could have potentially started work on that Friday to carry on through the weekend?
I think we can definitely look into that. What I would say, though, is I don't know that anyone is going to be able to speculate what happened between Friday and Monday, what was already airborne in the building, what things were already going on in that building. That's why we have experts here to talk about some of those things.
Thank you. All right. So for Pension and First Onsite, thank you for being here. Board, do you have any questions for either organization or either company?
Oh, they don't present in place.
I think they're just here for questions.
Oh, right, they're just here for questions, correct? That's my understanding is, got it.
So I guess it's been a day since we approved. I assume you've been in the building today. Do you feel comfortable with your initial assessments and plan to complete on time? I know there's still lessons to be learned, but we have school year started and we want the building to be safe. So after another day in the building, how do you feel?
Yes, so we have a very aggressive plan to move forward with the remediation as it relates to zoning off sections of the school in correlation to the HVAC systems that we have. We are projected to hopefully be completed on the 31st with the actual production and remediation, giving us a few days for what we call air scrub time prior to the final testing of the final area that we will have completed. We will be working with Pension and doing testing throughout the progress. We have a projection of the 20th of this month to test our first zone, which was one of the most aggressive concentrations of airborne contamination. And so that's going to give us a really good look at the success that we're going to have. We are taking what we consider a practical approach to the situation. However, we will have to address pre-existing situations. We have a water closet, for instance, that has an issue that was there that is, in our opinion, unrelated to elevated humidity that developed the situation right now. We will be removing ceiling tiles that have pre-existing watermarks on them. We will be removing some sound panels that are throughout various areas that are pre-existing. So that is going to open up for additional reconstruction work once we're completed, which is really why we're pushing for that aggressive timeline. However, things do change. The unknowns, to be quite frank, are going to be the HVAC systems. We know that the rooftop units are new. However, the visual inspections of the ductwork, the flex duct, none of that has commenced. And with the fact that it is an emergency situation, and we had to act quickly and provide figures so that this board can make decisions. Those will be the things that we will be digging into starting here within the next few days with our HVAC professionals. We will have an excess of 30 to 40 personnel at any one time in that facility. They are being managed by my managing team, Mike Black that's over there, and a project manager and a assistant project manager, which will be on site at all times through the process. I'm open to answer any questions as it relates to intricate details on what we do and how we do it, where we're starting, where we're, going about. But if we want to get into the analyticals, as I heard some of those questions, I have a statement for that, and mold is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. The molds that are developing and that we're dealing with that are in the school, quite frankly, were already there. The conditions had just met that perfect temperature and relative humidity for them to develop. We have, over 70 years of experience on your project as it relates to the management, and what we're seeing. We believe this is a isolated situation from the ground level, even though we're going to be addressing the walls, the HVAC systems, the ceiling tiles. We believe that this is a development due to elevated humidity and moisture that fed on contaminants that was in the carpeting, soda spills, things like that, and it just took off. There really isn't a science behind how long it takes for microbial growth to develop. It's really just the right conditions, which can exacerbate the development of that. We thank you for choosing First On Site to be your partner and helping you through this unscheduled event. We are going to do everything in our power to bring this to a safe, quick execution. So I'm open for any questions.
Board.
Question combined. Gonna come off angry, but I know it happens. I know of billion-dollar companies that have buildings mold issues, so having a school district be perfect 100% of the time is not my expectation. It happens. If billion-dollar companies have to deal with it, and a small school district, it can happen to them too. My question is there anything in our policies or procedures that we can learn from this? Because we have future HVAC work done in future years planned, such as more humidity monitors, more temperature monitors, or anything. You don't have to tell me right now. I just want to know, are we going to update a best plan for future work in the hopes of this doesn't happen again? In another perfect scenario, there's steps we could take.
Yeah, I would just say that you're always going to reflect upon every situation, but I would say last summer, Henderson Elementary didn't have HVAC for 2.5 months. There was no mold in that building. We certainly had humidity levels, it's Missouri. We certainly had rain over last summer. So whatever condition was unique, there was a difference here. We also have, I believe, 6 other buildings that are going through similar HVAC projects this summer with no similar characteristics at this time. And so, again, not being an environmentalist, not understanding full scope, I think we can always reflect on what practices are in place. However, there are sometimes characteristics that are unique to an individual building that might not be present in other buildings.
And then second, I assume at this point we're hoping success, but I assume you'll keep the board informed if we have to make some sort of changes for attendance at Warren if this goes on longer than we thought.
Absolutely. I am sure members of First Onsite and Pension will be updating our facilities team with regularity, whether we're on track, on time, if we begin to see some changes, and we'll update the board irregardless. If things are on time, just to inform the board that things are progressing as we hoped, and if there's some subtle changes to the plan, we will inform the board and the public as well. Obviously, the Warren community, including both staff and families.
As of right now, what is the target date for completion?
We are targeting August 4th to be complete with some of that work. I know these staff members will be working weekends and other things to try to achieve that goal.
Yep. Okay.
So firstly, thank you very much for not only responding to the RFP quickly, but for doing the work and all the work that you're going to do. So just want to get that out there. Thank you very much. I do have several questions, but I'll just pause each one just in case another board member wants to interject. With everything that you said, sir, about who knows how mold happens, could you provide any insight as to why this school and not the other schools that are going through the same type of upgrades with the same humidity and temperature, that have the same like carpets and soda spills that every school would have? You may not know, but just could you speculate why this particular poor itty-bitty school?
Yeah, I can't speculate on that because I would have to have data to tell me what the temperature and relative humidity were in all these other different places. I would have to know what the cleanliness was. There would actually have to be analytical data that would be collected in order to accurately answer that. The situations where that we come across when it comes to microbial remediation is simply the fact that there's a food source and it is exposed to moisture. And once again, you can't depict that. And I'll ask, you can piggyback off that and fill in on that, yeah.
So for mold growth, you need 4 things. You need oxygen, you need temperature to be right, you need a food source, and then you need moisture. And that can come in like a water leak, and in this case it seems like it was relative humidity that was the issue. So depending on the airflow of the school, I mean, that's the only way, like the only extra speculation that I can like come up with. I did not personally walk through the school. My supervisor did, but he gave me a good idea of exactly, like what he saw, and it sounded like there was a lot of fungal growth on the carpet in heavily trafficked areas. And that comes from our shoes. That comes from us walking around outside, and and when you have heavily trafficked areas, no matter how many times you vacuum it, I'm sure that there's still plenty of food sources for fungal growth to begin. So that's pretty much it. I mean, you just need 4 things. The only thing that we can really control is the water or moisture. So whether that be water leaking or relative humidity.
Thank you. I have other questions, but I'll yield to the rest of the board in case they have any first. Okay. In regards to the water stained ceiling tiles that will be replaced, is there a plan in place for a full inspection of all the ceiling tiles just to make sure that none are missed and then that undiscovered mold starts to grow and then we're back here again because it's spread?
So part of our process is we will be HEPA vacuuming all the ceiling tiles that are remaining. And then you can make a choice, whether you want to have those removed and replaced. Once again, taking a practical approach, we can go through and find a microbial issue by digging in everywhere, right? If you want to find it, hire us. We'll go find it. But we are addressing the air quality in the particular areas that were depicted on the protocol plan. Which was and to include the HVAC systems and what we are dealing with from the ceiling tiles in. We're not going and opening up wall cavities. We're not removing ceiling tiles and going into ceiling cavities to look for pre-existing situations. We're only addressing the pre-existing situations from what we visibly see as we stand in the room.
Okay. Thank you. In regards to replacing carpet and soundboards that have significant mold, could you define to concerned parents what you mean by significant so they know what may not be replaced? If there's mold that is just being cleaned and not replaced?
Well, as it relates to the soundboards, it's anything with a watermark. Anything that shows evidence that it had been water damaged, that's what we are addressing. Because we can visibly see that from literally just standing in the room. So it is a very common practice. It is written quite often in microbial remediation protocols that anything with a water stain or what have you during the progress of a mold remediation project, you need to address it. You need to remove that source because it's an indication that we could have microbial growth that we can't see.
Okay. And then my final question is for any staff members before they broke up for the summer that boxed up their belongings, if there's any mold on the boxes, I don't know who to address this to, are the contents going to be inspected, or if there's mold on a box, staff members should expect what to happen to those containers?
Prior to
if you go
the discovery of the situation?
So if you go through your inspection, you go into a room and you find a box that has mold all over it because of all of the factors that you mentioned, but there's teachers' belongings or classroom supplies in that box. The box has mold on it. So what's the plan for the stuff that's in the box?
Depending on what the items are in the box. If we're talking, pencils and pens and papers, we'll do a visual inspection of them. If they are water damaged, we will most likely put a photograph of that and make a mention of that in our what is called a daily field report, which will be submitted to the facilities, and it could be addressed that way. We're not going to throw it away or remove it. If it's something that is grossly contaminated, we may bag it and photograph it so that it could be observed by the owner.
Okay, so the teachers shouldn't be worried that their picture frames and stuff like that would just be thrown away?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
We are not disposing of anything without prior approval.
Okay. Thank you for that, and those are my questions. Thank you so much.
I have one question for Pinchin. For all those who are watching from Warren Elementary, parents who want to make sure that whenever they do send their kids to school, that the kids are going to a safe environment. This is also true for staff going to that same facility. Can you share with us the process that you will undertake to make sure that it is a safe building for kids and for staff to go into?
Yes, absolutely. So as Jeff and his team go through each section and have that ready and prepared, ready and it's cleaned, and they will inform me and Pinchin, and we will go in, and our plan is to take an air sample of each room in that section. So we're not gonna go into closets or like, you know, small, like tiny rooms like that, but just like classrooms, each individual classroom in that section that has been cleaned, we will take an air sample. Now, we also take a comparison outside sample. So mold, like we talked about, mold is everywhere. And I could even take an air sample in a surgical room and I will find mold. So that is the cleanest room that you can think of, and I will still find mold on an air sample. So we take an outside air sample, but we also compare it to Missouri outdoor fungal averages. So not only are we comparing it to the outside comparison air sample that is taken that day of indoor air samples, we are also comparing it to what the labs have established over the years and come up with a Missouri outdoor fungal average. So if those levels, if the indoor levels are lower or equal to the outdoor comparison air sample or the Missouri fungal averages, then that is a passing containment, and we can move on, and you can reoccupy that room.
And staff would need to wait for a thumbs up, an official certification, a thumbs up before even staff enter the room or enter the building, correct?
Yeah, so you will get those results, and we will let the facilities know as soon as we get those results. Also first on site, and they can tear down their containments from there. So once those containments are torn down, then yes, you can re-enter those areas.
Thank you. Any other questions, board? I want to say thank you to the two of you. I know that part of the RFP was the expectation you would be here tonight to answer questions. That's maybe not the normal RFPs you guys are responding to, but that's because we're especially interested in details and transparency here. So thank you two for being here tonight. If there's anything else, I'm sure we'll go through Mr. Delaney to contact you through him. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move away from this, I would also like to call out Mr. Dan Allison for his work on this situation. He has worked countless hours on the phone with different companies to make sure that we could get people here quickly to not only fill out the RFP, but also to help work with putting the RFP together and getting that mitigation started as soon as we could last week. So thank you, Dan, for the work that you've done on this.
Thank you. Next, we have superintendent comments. Mr. Delaney.
So I'd like to start tonight by giving a warm welcome to a few new faces on our district leadership team who started their roles at the beginning of this month. You've already met Pam Irwin, our new Deputy Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Pam is overseeing multiple departments, including finance, facilities, safety, transportation, and nutrition services. Big job. Thanks for being here, Pam. Also, I'd like to recognize Dr. Erin Thurston, formerly the principal at Barnwell Middle School, is our new Director of Secondary Education. As you may recall, this position was left vacant last school year, along with one of our deputy roles to help offset cost with the superintendent contract. We are excited to have Dr. Thurston's expertise on our academic team. We are also pleased to welcome Dr. Tim Shalley as our new Director of Elementary Education. Dr. Shalley previously served as principal of Cosley Elementary and now joins our district office team following Dr. Chris Garland's retirement. And then rounding out our academic team, Dr. Dan Harmon previously served as principal at Hollenbeck Middle School. He now currently serves as our Director of Student Services, and we're excited for the leadership he will bring to this new role. I would also like to acknowledge the other new staff members, principals, assistant principals, and others whose contracts began July 1. I'm very excited to see the progress we will make this school year as a team. In other news, we received the official follow-up report from the State Auditor's Office this week. This is a routine report that simply provides an update on the items identified in the initial report published in 2024. The report indicates continued progress in areas of improvement that were first identified by the district as part of our internal Prop S review and later confirmed by the auditor. We have confirmed with the auditor's office that there are no further steps in the process. They shared that they have no current plans to perform an additional follow-up or review anything at the district level. The final report is publicly available on the auditor's website for those who are interested. I do want to take a moment to thank our staff for all the hard work in ensuring this favorable information that we received from the auditor's office. A back-to-school checklist was emailed to all district families yesterday with helpful information and tasks to complete before school begins on August 24th. All families need to complete the annual online registration process. School supply lists were linked in the email and are posted on the district website. I want to remind our community that while students, teachers, and some staff are off work in the summer, many others continue to work throughout June, July, and August. Summer is the busiest time of year for some of our teams, like our grounds crews who mow 1,100 acres each week, our facilities, maintenance, and custodial crews who have been waxing floors and doing deep cleans, maintaining facilities to be in good working order. IT staff who are prepping and deploying approximately 4,000 Chromebooks and laptops, and our HVAC technicians who are busy making sure our school buildings are nice and cool as staff prepare to return to their classrooms and get them ready for the new school year. We have also planned a number of district-led events designed to prepare our new administrators and new teachers for the school year. These include new administrator orientation that took place earlier this month, our annual admin kickoff scheduled for next week, and then new educator orientation in early August. I want to thank Dr. Jesse Altman and Mr. Glenn Hancock and others who spend a great deal of time preparing for these events, making them meaningful opportunities for our staff. And finally, I just want to finish up with this message. As we prepare to welcome students and staff back to our school in just a few short weeks, I want to again ask our community members to model the behavior we expect of our kids. District teachers and staff continue to be singled out and targeted on various social media pages for their beliefs and values. In some cases, the children of our staff are also identified and targeted. Our teachers and our staff are dedicated, hardworking individuals who care about all kids and seek to impact the broader community through their work. Our core values outline the expectations we hold for our community. We seek to provide environments that are safe and welcoming for all students and all staff. We aim to be kind, to lift each other up. As we head into the new school year, I will continue to say, I hope we can all uphold these values so that we can create a true One Howell community. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, any comments?
I also would like to give my support to Becky Hormuth, a talented and respected teacher in the Francis Howell District. When I see Becky or any other teacher harassed by online attacks, I know it hurts her personally, but it also hurts the entire district if we don't stand up for her and all of our teachers. I'm asking for every person that lives in the Francis Howell District to stand up against hate speech of any kind. It is my belief that people will often say things online they would never say to your face. These perpetrators are cowardly bullies. We teach our students that bullying is never okay, and it is certainly wrong for any adult to behave in this disrespectful manner, and it needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. I have three things I'd like to say. We're approaching the August election. All I'm going to say is please take the time to look at what's on the ballot and then do your research for both sides. Although those that are in favor of the bills and those that are against them. Same thing for candidates. Please make sure that you're checking multiple sources, not just your typical go-to. Please do your research on what's on the ballot, because there are some things on there that could have some very real consequences. The second thing I'd like to say is it's a brand new school year. Even though we're hoping for a good financial outcome, that we're seeing the numbers go in an upward direction, we've seen some cuts that we have unfortunately had to make, and I don't want to be in a position where we're constantly asked to cut the biggest slice of the pie, which is staff salary and benefits. So I would like to ask our district and building administrators to have an imaginary email signature in line, which is this the best that you can do? Case in point, a couple of months ago, the board approved a series of books from a company that had shipping costs of $14,000. I suggested, could we not just go to Chicago and pick these books up in a truck? A couple of people in a truck overnight, come back, it would be a lot less expensive than $14,000. Mr. Hancock very graciously, or either him or one of his designees, reached out to the company, and while they couldn't lower the cost of the books, they were able to give us, I believe, a $3,000 or $5,000 discount. And I know this is small beans compared to what this district spends, but that's $5,000 less that we have to cut from somewhere. So to all administrators, an RFP is great for competitiveness. Probably shouldn't be my place to say this, but contracts are great for things that you need quickly, but they're not going to be as competitive as an RFP. Please make sure that you're asking, is this the best that you can do, so we can save money where we can. And finally, following on from Superintendent Delaney and Director Owens, I also have the following thing I'd like to say. Once again, we're seeing one of our staff members being bullied online. Regardless of the motives or intentions behind it, it is a purposeful action to sow hate into our community. Whether it happens online or in person, it makes no difference. It's bullying, it is wrong, and it is unacceptable. It is made even worse when the comments are being shared are misleading or outright lies, and especially when it comes from people who claim to want to be in a position to shape children's education. All this demonstrates is that if someone's different than you, you should lie, attack, and bully them to elevate your platform, no matter the consequence. I commend Becky Hormuth for her courage coming out here to speak tonight, but she should never have felt compelled to do so. No employee of this district should have to live in fear that they will see their name and photograph posted online simply because their lifestyle, opinions, or any other factor differs from someone else's. Our employees are here for one reason and one reason only: to educate and support our students. They do not deserve to have their personal lives turned into targets for public attacks. They deserve respect, they deserve privacy, and they deserve to come to work without fear of being harassed or vilified. As a district, we are sadly limited to what we can do when events happen outside of our walls, but it will absolutely not stop us from calling out behavior that has no place in our community. Thank you.
I just want to remind everybody, the election is coming up August 4th. Early no excuse voting is happening now. So please educate yourselves. There are, 3 constitutional amendments out there? I mean, there's a lot of pretty heavy stuff on this election for an August election. So please do your diligence and get informed so that you can, and then get out and vote so that you can make an impact on the community. I just wanted to say a big thank you to the administrators and staff who've supported our audit response. I would find it hard to believe that there's another district in this state that is operating with such rigor and under such scrutiny as Francis Howell is. So I continue to be wildly proud of this district and everything that we continue to accomplish. The amount of effort that you guys put in day after day at all levels here is phenomenal. I also want to say to Becky, I appreciate you coming forward today, and I'm sick over the fact that yet again we have a teacher who's being unfairly attacked. It breaks my heart that there are adults in this community that lead with such fear and loathing, and who stoop so low to attack our educators. I just have a real hard time understanding how people can be so harmful, willfully harmful. So just rest assured that their hateful actions do not represent this district as a whole. Certainly not myself, certainly not this board. I can speak, I think, on behalf of all of us here today. And it definitely does not reflect the one Howell that we are all aspiring to be. So I appreciate you. I know you're a talented and appreciated educator. And everyone, please just be kind to each other. Just think before you speak and act. We all have a place to make this world better in all the small and large things we do.
Thank you.
I'll start by, so normally we do not address patron comments. I'm not going to address any comments specifically. I just want to address something that was said when someone spoke, that they responded to something I posted online on my page. That is not a board page, that is not a district page, that is mine. So if there's something on there that is not representing the board, it is not representing the school, they responded to that. So nothing was brought up tonight reflected something going on in the district. I just wanted to address that and make that clear. Secondly, I want to say thank you to Mr. Delaney and everyone else for being able to speak about the tennis courts and everything else tonight. That was very rough to have these conversations up here. As Stephen already pointed out, we can't talk about this ahead of time, so we have to speak about it in real time in microphones, and it makes it difficult to come to conclusions. So thank you for everyone's patience on these issues. We are going to try to get to a better place. I'm excited about the return to school. I know some other people might not be, but I like the first day of school. It's a good time, it's coming up. And then I'll end by saying I just have to denounce the harassment of any student, staff, teacher, volunteer, or anyone associated with the Francis Howell School District. We would not accept that behavior from any of our students, and we should not accept it from any of our community members. Our professional educators work their butts off for us, and they deserve our respect. And I'll say, when I wanted to join this board, is because I want to make sure the board was not in the news. So I hope most of what we say gets drowned out by the celebration of everything our teachers do and everything our students achieve. And that's the best way to beat this, is to make sure that everything that's out there is about the good that comes from Francis Howell, and I hope everyone can elevate that to the front of every page, everywhere. Thank you.
A few comments. One, thank you to the board for your quick ability to meet yesterday. By your ability to meet and by the administration's ability to move quickly, our ability to have Warren open up on day one increased. So thank you all to the board. All 7 of the board members were part of it yesterday, and all the work with admin, Dan, others to make it happen. You increased our ability to let Warren be clean and safe and ready for the first day of school. Thank you all very much. Second of all, a reminder that we have Prop O and Prop H on the November ballot. Those are 2 props that the board believed would be good for the district. And so pay attention to Prop O and Prop H information. We'll be sure to continue to share that with you all. Again, we have 2.9 million square feet to take care of. Prop H deals with property. It's 2.9 million square feet. You see how something can happen with Warren, one of our smaller schools, and just realize that we're tending to 2.9 million square feet, and Prop O and Prop H have different ways of helping us respond to those types of needs. I also want to say, a couple months I said this. We ask that you do not attack our teachers and staff, particularly at a public forum. We ask that you recognize the impact that such actions have on their mental health and on their ability to show up with their best selves for our students. Teaching is a difficult job, often thankless, and the compensation is not nearly enough, but teachers teach because they know they can make a difference. It's a calling, not just a profession. And we need more caring and dedicated teachers in the world, not less. Let's drive them away. By every measure, I have heard that Becky Hormuth is one of those caring and dedicated teachers that is good for Independence Elementary and is good for Francis Howell. And if you have a kid who's going to be in Becky Hormuth's class, you are lucky and fortunate. I believe we have the most incredible teachers and staff, and this board has your back. There are certain things we cannot control. However, we speak clearly that we do not accept harassment as a valid form of expression. You can share opinions without being hateful or cruel. This isn't just a message for adults, it's for kids and students. We're applying it across the board. We create the world that we live in. We create the district we live in. And so for anybody else who sees anything that resembles hate, I ask you to take upon yourself, on your shoulders, the responsibility to overcome hate with love. And if you see something that is outside the bounds, share it. Let the board know. In many cases, we can't respond or can't fix that problem, but we can speak authoritatively in terms of our values that we are elected here to represent. Nonpartisan civility towards one another. And you all have more power than you know. Speak love whenever you see hate. Speak love whenever you see harassment. You all create the district that we get to live in. And so I ask all of you to take upon yourselves the shoulders, not just to do no harm, but to do good. And that shows up in 100 different ways. Find the way that's right for you. So thank you for everybody for your involvement. Thank you for your understanding to what is going on in the Francis Howell School District. The very best days of this district are ahead of us. And I'm thankful for everybody to be part of this together. And so at that point, board, I have a motion to adjourn and return to closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer McGuire, and then Vice President Griner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all for being here.